Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matthew with Watty's channel. Once again, as always, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Today's date is Wednesday, June the 14th. Now, at the beginning, or as of the filming of this video, as of yesterday, I just posted the first video of round 3 of the tag team tournament. So this video will actually be posted after the second video, so I want to bring up the date because it's going to be out of order, essentially a little bit. So I did mention somewhere towards the end of that video that it's probably going to be about 4 or 5 days from the time that I post the video before I post the second video. Reason being, it was a 40+ minute video. I kind of felt like people were going to need some extra time to get around to actually watching that video. I've learned something about my viewers, about the people who watch my channel, my subscribers, and it's pretty impressive. I guess my viewers really don't care how long a video runs. I posted a 55-minute or 55-second video, and we're about 3 days in, and it's got about 60 views. Whereas I got that 42-minute video, and it had over 100 views in like less than a day. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. I mean, that's always a goal of mine, to hit that 100, hit that century mark in viewership, at least before I post my next videos. I don't always hit that mark, but that's always a priority for me. So for this particular video, this is going to be a break in between rounds 3 and 4 of the tournament. It is a special request. It's also kind of like a solemn video. As we all know, in the last week or so, the death of the Iron Sheik. The one thing that I can say about with the Sheik's passing, the man was about 80, 81 years old. And he lived a long, full life, even with some of, with drug use and whatnot, considering, his habits, 40 years ago, to actually make it, would have that longevity in life, and to make it to a ripe old age, it's pretty significant. How many times have we looked at, wrestlers of our childhood and seen that they passed away at ages 35, 42, 45, 50, young ages. So seeing that he lived a full life, I mean, that was something to take solace in, or to show have some kind of gratefulness. But I don't care if you know the person or you don't know the person. You're watching the news, you hear somebody's death. It's always going to impact you. It always hurts to know that somebody lost their lives, and thinking about the families and everything. How are they going to react? Their friends. It's infinite. It's finite. And it sucks. It hurts. I don't know if I was ever going to do a rest in peace type video, only because I don't feel like I ever had as much knowledge or memory of the Iron Sheik outside of those Coliseum videos. However, this particular video was a special request, and I always say, if you guys have ideas or something you would like to see, absolutely 100% I'll do it if I have those capabilities. So I am going to another one of the wrestling videos where we look at wrestling figures. Well, they're all wrestling videos. Let me clarify. Wrestling figures produced by different toy lines. So today's video is in remembrance of the Iron Sheik. I don't have an absolute ton, but I do have enough. Because it is a sort of remembrance type video, I am going to actually include a few of the customs, or a couple customs I do have of the character. And I am going to... And actually, one of the figures I just got in today, I wanted to hold off until I got that figure, because I'm going to make a comment at the end of the video that might surprise some people. So, alright, so let's get in with the very first figure. So this is my personal opinion of how I rate these figures from least favorite to most favorite. So among the collection of figures that I own, what is my least favorite Iron Sheik action figure? And it does come from the Mattel Retros. So you would think that with the Mattel Retro line, as something that's trying to imitate the Hasbro line, they would fall within the Hasbro, within that line where I would classify LJN or Hasbro's as my number one or number two, favorite figures, depending on, if that particular character has had both figures made, or both toy lines have made that particular character. So the Mattel Retros, you would think, would be, right there as well. If it was made by both Mattel, or made by both LJN and Hasbro, as well as Mattel Retros, you would think, okay, at least number three, right? But a lot of the Mattel Retros, there are very few Mattel Retro figures that I think are actually done well. And with the Iron Sheik, I don't like the figure. I think it's terrible. So I've talked about the Mattel Retros in the past. I kind of went backwards, meaning when I started collecting the Hasbros and the LJNs, what did I do first? I collected all the figures loose, and then once I got everything, then I started collecting everything on card. With the Mattel Retros, the very first figure I ever acquired, first couple figures I acquired were already carded, so everything that I acquired since then had all been, carded figures. I wasn't going to buy any loose figures. And once I completed the whole line, a few months later, well, over the last year, I really didn't do anything with the Mattel Retros. So over the last few weeks, my goal has been to try to acquire some, not all of them, loose. And I'm probably going to get maybe somewhere in the line of about 30 or 40 of the figures loose. Again, I'm not paying $100+ for like a Junkyard Dog and Diesel and all that for an individual loose figure. It just ain't going to happen. So I would love to actually be able to show you this figure loose, but at least we got the carded figure, so that's fine. A lot of these figures that you do see, they have like these, high upper bodies, and they kind of like do this kind of little action. I'm not even sure what that is. I mean, maybe like you're supposed to like hold someone above your head, and maybe it like imitates like a power slam or something. But on the back, it actually shows that exact same thing. But I'm not a fan of the figure, and like I said, very few Mattel Retros I think are done well. I think the line as a whole is mediocre. When I got into collecting, I said the Mattel Retros did nothing for me. I had no interest in them, but then eventually, as the collections kept growing, I'm like, yes, you know what? I might as well. They're reminiscent of the Hasbros. Why not try and get those as well? But and plus I kind of felt like they, 20, 30 years from now, they're going to probably be the new Hasbros, meaning that, a figure that you paid $2 for from Ringside Collectibles, last year will probably be worth $300 20 years from now. So, not a fan of the Mattel Retros. That particular figure does come in dead last. The next one we're looking at, actually, I am going to go with the custom. So this is one of the first customs, the only custom I had before today of the Iron Sheik, and I actually like the original Iron Sheik version better than this one. I purchased this because it is a much different look, and of course, with me, anything that gives it a slight difference from the original, I'm going to be on it. It's an awesome figure, as far as, the way that they were able to remove the pants and give a new, fresh take on the look of the figure. The LJN of Iron Sheik in general is not one of my favorites, so I rate this next to last, which means that, of course, the original Iron Sheik figure is, in my opinion, one of the top 10. I think I rated him, where did I put him, like number 5 or something, number 6, somewhere around there. He's on the top 10 list of my least favorite LJN figures of all time. Just a terrible play pose. I'm just not a fan of it. And it sucks because there are a lot of really great characters out there that I really enjoy. Roddy Piper being a prime example. Love Roddy Piper absolutely despise his action figure. Iron Sheik, what I talk about when what does anyone talk about from the 80s? Who is your primary bad guy that you think of? Your King Kong Bundy, your Nikolai Volkov, and your Iron Sheik. Your three premier heel figures. And I always hear people talk about really the face of the WWF during the 80s. He was your go-to bad guy. Again, much too young to really remember the Iron Sheik from the 80s. Everything I saw from him did come from Coliseum home videos until we got to the 90s and he was rebranded. That's obviously a character that I'm much more familiar with. And we will get to that one shortly. Next up, for me, it's going to be the singles gear, or the individual piece of the Jakks Pacific Classic Superstars. So, one of the things that, kind of learning about, wrestlers and their pre-WCW, pre-WWF, a lot of these wrestlers originated in, Vern Gagne's AWA Association, American Wrestling Association. And, the Iron Sheik was one of those major faces from that association. And, guys, watch JP's World of Wrestling. He actually has a really good story about the Iron Sheik that I really like. And, I'm not always a fan of the actual action figures from Jakks Pacific, but what do I talk about? I love the box sets, so I gravitate towards these like crazy, and I pick them up as much as I possibly can. And like I said, the graphics, it's among one of my favorite box sets. The figures themselves, they really don't do anything for me without the box. The box itself is what does it for me, why it's among one of my favorites. So, pretty simple figure. And sticking with Jakks Pacific, now this one is a 2-pack. This is actually one of the first figures, or first box sets I purchased. I don't remember exactly when, but this one's actually destroyed, and I think that's why I got it relatively cheap. So it is a 2-pack, not of the Iron Sheik, but of Colonel Mustafa. Now, around SummerSlam of 1990, or was it SummerSlam or was it Survivor Series? It may have been Survivor Series 1990. I always get them mixed up. And, Brother Love's in ring, and he's giving an interview with Sergeant Slaughter. And we're at the height of the Gulf War. And, Sergeant Slaughter, he's in the ring. He's talking about how America's gone soft. And, this is just before, he had the whole turncoat moment and became an Iraq sympathizer. And here is the funny thing about the pairing, understandably, with Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik in the 80s. Okay, with the Cold War, Iran and Russia were frenemies. Okay, they were allies, enemies, but friends, friendly enemies, frenemies. But Iraq and Iran. Now, as a soldier, I always deployed to Iraq as a soldier, and for me, as a contractor, after military service, I always went to Afghanistan or I was in Kuwait or something. I was only in Iraq as a contractor the last couple of years before I came home full time. But as a soldier, you have the locals in the car with you, and you put on the music, turn on the radio, and you got the local music on, and you don't understand what they're saying, but it's got a good beat to it, so you're enjoying the music. So you turn the music up, and you're kind of like enjoying the beat, enjoying the music, and the locals, they'll sit there and they'll turn off the music real quick, and they'll be super angry with you. Why? Because it's not Iraq music, it's Iranian music, and local Iraqis or Iraq people in general despise Iranians. So to see that an Iraqi sympathizer kind of teaming up with an Iranian wrestler kind of made no sense. Now, as a kid, did I know anything about that? Absolutely not. But kind of, looking at this box set now and with this video and thinking about this, absolutely that's gonna ring fresh in my mind, and I'm like, no, that this tag team would not have worked one bit. But either way, it was nice, later on when Sergeant Slaughter went back to the good side, or however you want to describe it, and teamed up with Hacksaw and all the good guys, and he was all over. Was it? No, it wasn't the Iron Sheik or Colonel Mustafa. Who was the other guy? The manager. I'm trying to remember his name, but it's killing me. I'm gonna end the video, and then it's gonna pop in my head, and it's gonna drive me nuts. But I think he was in the ring. That he was like the last one, or one of the last people they pinned. It was a fun match. So that was that. Next one. Now this is actually one of my favorite toy lines, and it has probably less fans than the original San Francisco toy line. So this one is the Legends of Professional Wrestling. One of the videos I did way back when, somewhere in the 70s, one of my favorite videos that I made, even though I didn't have the entire collection at that time. I was still missing a handful of boxes when I did that video. The figures are just so awesome, and what I love most about these particular sets is that each series only has 2 figures, and of course, they're what sucks is they're both the same figure. This is the same character, but you have a regular version and you have a bloody version, and that bloody version is what really blends in my love of horror and wrestling together. So it's super fantastic. Obviously, I rate the blood and gore, the bloody version, higher than just the original version. But we'll take a quick look at the original Legends of Professional Wrestling. And I believe this was Series 5. No, what series was this? This was Series 6. Series 6 original, non-bloody Iron Sheik. And plus, this one is probably hovering around 6 inches or so. So, a little bit bigger than a Remco figure, I would say. So I think this would, obviously mesh well with Remco figures. And whereas if you were to look at, your Jakks Classic Superstars, I think these hover probably closer to 8 inches. Maybe 7. So those would probably be more like for your original San Francisco toy makers. If you want to cross lines and, like for me, I never had a problem with crossing lines. Battling, Galoobs with Hasbro, for example. They're both 4-inch figures. Who cares? Heck, even though Remco was a little bit larger, probably 5.5 inches, I'd mix in Remco as well. Why not? Throw in your Bendies or your Bendums or something. They're roughly 4 inches as well, too. So you could do all that. And the bloody version. Absolutely amazing. I love these cards. Love the cards. Love the figures inside. At this point, I think from this entire line, I think I'm only missing a couple. And I actually, no. So originally they had like 13 series, but then they came up with these little small boxes that are about, little black boxes that are about this size. They got rid of the red card backing, which sucks. And I'm not going to collect all of those little black boxes. The red ones, those are what I was gravitating towards. Alright, so that would have been my favorite figure if. So my favorite figure is actually going to be a custom. And I just got this one in today. Why does this figure mean so much? Why? Because he reminds me of a character that I actually remember in the Colonel Mustafa. Now, also, I might be I might be committing a mortal sin by saying this, but I think that an Iron Sheik might actually be my favorite LJN figure. And I've already said that Iron Sheik is among my least favorite figures of all time. So what am I talking about? How can an Iron Sheik be my favorite? Bruiser Brody is already a two-time champion, right? This figure was done so well that I'm just dying to do a third My Favorite LJN tournament. I just think that this one, and not just this one, I recently got in a Ricky Steamboat. I think either one of those right now, either one of those figures could really give Bruiser Brody a run for his money in the next tournament. So I'm constantly getting new figures in. So when I do that next tournament, it's gonna be different, of course, from the previous two, as always, and it's gonna be. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, I know you guys are dying to shut the heck up and show us what it is. All right, my new favorite Iron Sheik figure. Guys, that is freaking amazing. The artwork, the detail is absolutely incredible. And this isn't a resin figure, okay? This actually is a rubber figure. So they've literally taken one of the worst action figures of all time and quite possibly turned in the most perfect action figure ever. The pose, obviously, you can't do anything with that. That still sucks. But that overall design and look is so absolutely remarkable. Now, with the Ricky Steamboat figure, it's a resin, so that kind of detracts from the value. He's kind of like that Tom Zank Galoob pose. And when I first bid on it, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a Galoob custom. But, it was an LJN, and, that's fine. But, man, this is truly amazing. And a seller on Mercari, I bought a couple figures from him. I also got that. I'm actually going to do another video about the Paul Orndorff figures that I got in. Well, just that one, but also another comparable LJN video. This is incredible. I love this one. To Blight Interference, thank you for obviously making this recommendation to me, because I probably wouldn't have looked for this, and I wasn't really intentionally looking for this. It just kind of came up, and I'm like, you know what? They would absolutely love this, and I know I would love it. This has to be part of this video. So I wanted to wait until I got this in, and hopefully it was worth it. Unfortunately, that's all I have as far as Iron Sheik action figures. Until next time, if you guys have any other requests, any special characters that you would like to look at, some of the different figures that they may have come out with, send me that request. I will definitely pull that and make those lists for you. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I will talk to you in the comments. Goodbye, everyone.